Smoking and roasting is what we do. Light 'em up, drink 'em down. Whiskey and cigars all around. Cheers, y'all.
Well. Welcome, my friends, to this fine radio program and podcast type thingy. It's called Smoking and Toasting. We're here for show number 103, and we're brought to you by the fine folks at B&B Butchers and Restaurant at 1814 Washington Ave in Houston and in the shops at Clear Fork in Fort Worth. Smoking and Toasting is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. My name is Cruz, my co-host, the lovely and talented Ian Barry.
I like being referred to as lovely.
Have I ever referred to you that way before?
No, but I feel special now.
I think, and you look special today too.
Thank
so,
you.
It's
I made my socks match my shirt.
It's good to be here. We have so much to talk about today, and we are just we're so fortunate to have the guys from Platypus Brewing in the studio today. Both Brandon and I'm told it's correctly pronounced Sean.
Yes, very good.
Yeah, so
very
Sean.
articulate.
Yeah, so I'm very excited about that.
Sean.
Not Sean. We say Sean here in Texas. Sean. So these guys have brought in some brews from Platypus Brewing. Both Ian and I have been there before, so we'll talk a lot about that in the coming segments, and we'll sample some of their brews. And I really love having a representation for a place like Platypus, because it is all about that experience of going there and sampling the beers, and it's a really fun place to go. So I like that. We're going to be talking about that. We have a peanut butter whiskey on the show today, and I'll explain more about it. This was a surprise, because you brought in some whiskey, and then I looked at it and go, Ian, you've been kind of hitting that one, I think. There's maybe more people left in the room.
We're going to polish off that bottle.
Yeah, so we may.
Well, the nice thing about it is we can say, hey, we knocked out a whole bottle of whiskey.
Yes, that's right.
The downside is it's not a whole bottle of whiskey.
So Katie Whiteside, who is the wife of our tech director, John Whiteside, and who also handles bookkeeping and financial stuff for the company for another month, and then she's actually leaving to go work for NASA. Katie had a friend in, I believe, high school. I don't think it was even college, I believe it was high school, that has gone on to form his own distillery and has just released a peanut butter whiskey. And so she brought me a bottle of it. Haven't even cracked the seal on it.
Never heard of it.
Never heard of it. It's called Skrew Ball.
That's
Skrew
awesome.
Ball whiskey, and so we're looking forward to that. It's going to be an experience. That's all I can tell you. And you guys, Brandon and Sean from Platypus, if you don't mind tasting a little whiskey with us today,
absolutely.
We would be honored to get your feedback.
Well, we'll give it a right roll crack.
All right, that sounds good. I love having Australians on the show. It's the best. Are you from Australia, not New Zealand, right?
That's right. I'm the big brother.
You're
right.
the big brother. Okay, that's good. Well, you're not the first Australian we've had on the show, but it's nice to get back. It's been a while, so we're very honored to have you on. It is it's a crazy busy week. We have Labor Day weekend coming up here, and that means extra drinking. And so we want to get to sampling some things and making some suggestions for you before the weekend gets here. Now, prior to the Labor Day weekend, Ian, did you smoke anything interesting this week?
Hell yes.
Oh, I love when you come to play. That is so good. So tell me what happened?
It was an interesting cigar. I actually got it a few weeks back at Casa de Monte Cristo. I was over there. Brian turned me on.
Brian Nguyen, our buddy.
Yeah, he's so awesome, and he turned me on to a cigar. He goes, "You got to try this. This is kind of a new thing." Because I always ask, "Hey, what's new?"
Right.
So he turns me on to a cigar called a Pepper Box. It's made by Placencia.
Well, that's an interesting title right off the bat.
Right, it's a pepper box, and I will have to actually post this picture in just a little bit when it comes up, because the pepper box is 4 by roughly 60 box press, okay?
Okay, so that's why it's the pepper box.
Yes, however, it's incredibly interesting because this 4 by 60 is made up of 4 by 32 roughly cigars.
Okay, wait a second. It's 4 separate cigars?
No, it's 4 cigars that are all rolled together.
Okay, so there's 4 cigars inside the wrapper?
Yes.
That's what you're... Oh.
It's so bizarre.
Who came up with this idea? That was a board roller, is what that was. That was somebody who's like, looky what I can do.
So yeah, it's four smaller cigars, and they're packaged together. And of course, it makes a square when you put them all together and wrap them, so it looks like a square, box press.
Right.
And he said it's very unique, and it is. This was so like just on the nose, the pre-light sniff on this was very earthy, a little bit of hay, like some light flavors. It's kind of it's a really cool looking cigar. First off, but the pre-light sniff was wonderful. It had very cigar like smell, in the most classic, awesome way, with earth and hay and like that kind of thing. The initial light on this was awesome because this cigar hits the sweet spot like the minute you light it.
Is that because there's 4 separate cigars inside?
No idea what the science is on this one.
And I was going to ask you, do you know, are the 4 cigars different in characteristic, or are they designed to be 4 things delivering the same?
I think it's
separate?
4 identical cigars.
Wow.
That's just, and they're packed together, so it smokes like one. And
It sounds like a marketing thing.
So let me back up from my So let me back up from my initial light because it was wonderful. But so I default to a punch, right?
But that may not work here, will it?
So I looked at the back of the
bad
cigar
idea.
and I had my punch in my hand. I was like, I don't think that's going to work. So of course
Yes.
I got out my cutter and cut the end.
Yes.
And lit the cigar. The draw on it was near effortless. So I thought, okay, well, this
And
cigar
that's
might,
interesting because,
this cigar might smoke a little fast. Okay, and it wasn't a really long smoking cigar. Of course, it was only 4 inches long anyway, so it wasn't like a Churchill. More like a nub size,
Right.
But the initial light, I mean, it had this super fresh hay kind of flavor to it. It had pepper, but not pepper like it's called pepper box. You'd assume, it's like that. It's actually named not because it's peppery. It's named after a gun that had
a gun called
barrels
the pepper
wrapped
box.
around
Yeah.
a center axis.
Oh,
that would,
okay. Yeah, that
it
makes
was called
sense.
a pepper box. Anyway, so if you look at the end of it, it looks like that. You can see the 4 distinct cigars on the end of it.
Can you still see them? Like once it's burning, can you still tell that it's
Yes,
four in
I took pictures of that, and again, I'll post these up really quickly. I'll send them over to Adam in a minute. So anyway, it hit the sweet spot at the initial light pepper flavor all the way around the tongue, the fresh hay, the classic cigar notes, little bit of espresso kind of thing going on, but just in the background. This cigar smoked beautifully from the beginning to the end. I may have tended one corner of it once, if my memory's correct, because this was a few nights ago, and maybe a couple whiskeys, maybe some of this Booker's ago.
I was going to say it's where the Bookers went.
So the first third of the cigar, delicious. All these notes came into play, and they stayed there. The second third of this cigar, more of the same, but just absolutely, it's a very one-trick pony. It does one thing, and it's amazing. It's not a whole ride, but it's really good.
Awesome.
And all the way down until I smoked it down to the nub, which again I'll post pictures of all that. Me enjoying the cigar on top of that. So you gotta price to quality on this thing. So I can't remember exactly what I paid for this thing, but I'm trying to think it's in the $10 to $12 mark. Okay. It was such a fun cigar that I'm going to go ahead and give it a 6.5 right off the bat. Now,
just because it's different, it's unique.
Yeah, it's different. It was unique.
And
it was
good.
Fun. Like just talking about it is fun. And for those of you who don't know the price to quality index, what we do is we have a scale of 1 to 10. 5, you get exactly what you pay for.
5 is boom.
Yeah,
right
we try to be fair with this because some cigars are $20, some cigars are $3.
Right, you might have a $3 cigar that scores a 7,
that means
and a $20 cigar that scores a 4. It just means that
right.
one exceeded the amount that you paid for it in expectation, and one maybe was good but didn't quite live up to the $20.
Right. Yeah. So if this was a $12 cigar, I'm going to go ahead and give it a 6 because 6 to 6.5 because I enjoyed it so much.
So
the cigar
what that
was
means
so
is you
unique.
would have paid 15 or 16 and not been unhappy. Right.
By the time I smoked it, I would have been very happy with it. And I'm actually going to go by and get a couple more. That's how much I enjoyed it.
We should have a pepper box smoking party.
It was so fun, and
because it sounds like a
and it
blast.
went great with beer. I was having I was having the Bearded Fox Pecan Porter that they put out recently, which Bearded Fox is from up in Tomball, Texas. Here, it's a local one, and I think it's just the only beer I've had from them. But I've seen the name around, which was also quite good. Went with it well.
That's
How about
awesome.
you?
I smoked a really interesting one. You know, I've gone budget the last couple of shows,
Right.
and I decided it was time to at least attempt to reward myself a little. Not a super expensive, but I'll smoke an El Cheapo for you guys next week. This week I went and actually got something that I had not seen before. I bought it in the walk-in humidor at Specs, Smith Street downtown. It's the La Galera 1936 box-pressed Churchill. And I just
Seen it, hadn't tried it.
want to start out by saying it's one of the best-looking cigars that I've smoked in a long time. It had this dark chocolate wrapper that just almost looked edible. You almost wanted to eat it instead of smoke it. But
Vastly different results if you do
chocolate
that.
brown, chocolate brown, smooth, absolutely beautiful. La Galera is a part of Indian Head cigars, and the phrase La Galera means roller's room in Spanish, or the gallery is sort of how it loosely translates in English. And Jose Hochi, the La Galera box pressed, is named for his Tabacalera Palma family, which was started in 1936. So that's why the 1936 designation is there. That's when they opened their doors, and they do brands like Aging Room and La Flor Dominicana and so on. So this cigar was made in the Dominican Republic with an Ecuadorian Habano wrapper and a Dominican binders and Dominican Criollo fillers. The pre-light was loads of earth, a little bit of caramel kind of sneaking around in there, and then once it was lit, some very pleasant but very light sweetness to it. Not enough that it gave it like a sweet flavor, but just a touch that sort of kept any sort of bitterness or sort of harshness at bay, and of course earthiness and a little bit of espresso as it smoked. What I liked most about this cigar is it had very nice complexity for a Dominican. It makes me realize I should smoke more from the Dominican Republic, because you kind of get, like a lot of people, when I first started smoking cigars, I smoked a lot of cigars from the DR. As I got into Nicaraguan and Ecuadorian, those kind of became my favorite, and I don't go back and smoke as many Dominican Republic cigars as I used to. And this is evidence to me that they've been doing some good things in the Dominican Republic, because it was a really, really, absolutely perfect construction, by the way. Burned straight, drew perfectly, did not have to relight or tend it one single time during the whole smoke. And that is usually at least once, for me. Maybe just I don't even need to, but I do. With this one, it was such a great, perfect smoke and construction.
Well, when you smoke on your patio, you have a little bit of a windy environment, so I can see that being...
that can affect it as well. This one's about an $8 cigar, so price to quality, I'm going to give it a 5.5 to a 6.
Nice.
Meaning that I would have, been happy had I paid, a buck or two more for it. But I thought it was very good. I've not seen this cigar around a lot of places. But definitely it's one that's worth seeking out. And like I said, I bought it in the Specs Humidor downtown Houston. So if you're looking, you can find them there if you're in the greater Houston area.
I have a buddy of mine that texted me a couple weeks ago, and he's from the Dominican, and he texted me, he goes, "Hey, I got a buddy of mine coming into town, and we want to go mountain biking. Do you have an extra mountain bike?" Well, of course I do.
Of course you do.
Actually, he was saying, "Hey, do you know anywhere we can rent one?" I was like, "Man, I'll loan you one. That's not a problem." So I loan him a mountain bike, and I get it back, and they were so grateful and so happy. And he comes back. I ran into him this past week. I ran into him, and he goes, "Hey, I brought you some cigars."
Oh, dude.
So I got a Fonseca and a couple others in there, La Flor Dominican. And
See, this is why...
How classy is that?
Yeah, but see, this is why doing good deeds is a positive thing.
Right.
Because it comes back to you, right?
That's right.
I firmly believe that. So,
Yeah,
okay.
I only loaned him one bike. He gave me 3 cigars.
All right. Speaking of good deeds, we did a show, you and I, at the at the sponsor location at B&B Butchers several months ago, and had a great show, had a good time. And you said to me, "Feel like smoking a cigar?" I said, "I sure do." And we walked over to Platypus Brewing, which is right across the parking lot from the B&B down on Washington Ave in Houston. Sat outside. It was before the summer got like super hot. It was pleasant. Your wife was there, and we sat, smoked cigars, drank Platypus beer, and had just a wonderful time. And that was my introduction to Platypus Brewing. So I'm really excited to have the Platypus guys in the studio. We're going to sample some beers and talk about why the hell they decided to call their brewery Platypus. When we come back, it's Smoking and Toasting. This is the radio show that's all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. And by the way, Founders is leading a trend to drop craft beer prices. So we'll tell you about that coming up. And
I love that.
get the panel to weigh in. You're listening to Smoking and Toasting.
You guys are great. Just keep going what you're doing. Yeah. Perfect. We're going to keep the show going the same way.
Yep. As long as, I'm earning the appearance fee, that's fine.
There you go. Have to get with Vera, your agent. And
Yes, that's right. Yes. Hang on, what?
So we'll try a beer in this segment
yes.
if you guys want to
Sure.
get that
So,
prepped.
Let's do...
So how many beers did you bring to
Three.
Three.
Today's-
Okay,
yeah.
perfect. So we'll do one a segment, and we'll do the whiskey in the other segment, and the remaining.
Start with the...
Perfect.
Which one's the other one?
Box kick.
You can go any way you want to go. We generally sort of go lighter to heavier,
say.
at least,
Yeah, we'll
at
do the
least,
lager
at least in ABV. So
Fairly certain.
love it. Okay,
We'll
cool.
soon find out. You're going to have from the pool.
Ready when you are, Adam, for segment 2, numero dos.
If you don't mind including one extra cup for
Absolutely.
Adam over here, and I'll just pass it over here.
Welcome back, my friends. It's Smoking and Toasting. This is the radio program that is all about craft beer and fine spirits and hand-rolled cigars. It's show number 103. We're putting this together on the 30th of August, so we're just about to get into Oktoberfest time. We will be tasting a number of Oktoberfests on the show between now and, the time to start tasting Christmas beers. So,
Did I mention I'm already trying to drink out the supply of
the St. Arnold? Yes, Oktoberfest. Yes,
So
I know. It is funny because every time I see another Oktoberfest and I go, oh, I should grab that for the show, I go, or I could just get a St. Arnold Oktoberfest for me.
So good.
Yeah, because they are really, really good. We are brought to you by B&B Butchers and Restaurant at 1814 Washington Ave in Houston and in the shops at Clear Fork in Fort Worth. By the way, B&B will be the location. B&B on Washington Ave in Houston will be the location for the Whiskey Sniff, and tickets are going on
Whiskey
sale
Sniff.
soon. We got to tell you about this. It's going to be like the greatest event ever, and we're so psyched about it. But it's going to be one of those evenings of smoking cigars, sniffing whiskey, drinking whiskey, and Jeremiah Butler, our buddy from B&B, has now gone on record with me and made me a promise. There will be bacon at this event.
He's so excited about it,
Yes,
too.
yes,
I love
it's
seeing
awesome.
him get excited.
It's awesome. So we're looking forward to that. Pleased to have the guys from Platypus Brewing, Brandon and Sean, in the studio today. Guys, welcome. And I have to say, I've always been a little, I geek out a little over the platypus. It's always been my favorite animal because it was so freaking weird.
It is a bizarre animal. And poisonous.
Yes, even just as a kid, I thought this is either what happens when evolution paints itself into a corner, or God just had a weird day.
There's a
one of the two,
Tom
depending on what
Waits
you
lyric
believe.
that says, "Don't you know there ain't no devil? That's just God when he's drunk."
That's sort of what the platypus feels like. But so I love that you named your brewery Platypus Brewing. But I'm a little curious as to why. Were you like me fascinated by the platypus?
Oh, look, without a doubt, it's an indigenous animal to Australia, of course.
Right, this is an Australia area of the world animal. You don't find it other than in zoos and stuff. You don't find it other places, right?
That's right, and I think actually the poor little buggers are endangered now, so you won't even find them outside Australia
Well,
in zoos.
so. I'm not surprised. They can't have like normal reproductive habits because they have like the parts of all these different species of animals sort of glued together on one.
This is
one
when we
thing.
need Glenn Fiddick Dave to come on and talk to us about this animal.
Yes.
Yeah, look, it is all over the place, and
Yeah.
it's sort of a
got
good
a duck bill
representation.
and
He lays eggs, but yet he's a marsupial, he's a mammal. I mean, how does that happen, right?
I've seen a lot of internet jokes where they call them puppy ducks.
Puppy ducks, yeah, because that's kind of
ducks.
what they look like, right? Yeah. So the most important question I'm going to ask you today is not even about the beer. It's something I've been wondering about for a long time, and hopefully you can clear this up. is the plural for platypus, is it platypi?
It's actually not.
Okay.
If you go to the dictionary, the Oxford, it would be called platypuses.
Platypuses is how you would say.
Would there be a
more than
gaggle
one.
of them?
Would there be a gaggle of platypuses? I actually don't know the collective now, and I just hope it's not a murder of platypuses.
So
'Cause
far, I
that'd be
think,
quite sinister,
yeah,
wouldn't
so
it?
far only crows seem to fall into the murder, right?
Yes.
There isn't any other grouping called them. But you're right. If it was a murder of platypus, I'd be frightened.
Yes, me too. The cheeky little buggers have got that spur that we spoke about, and
They're cheeky little buggers. See, I love that. You should do a beer called Cheeky Little Bugger.
Oh,
Seriously.
we've got a couple, haven't we? Yeah,
So-
a couple up the sleeve.
So tell me about the history of Platypus Brewing. When was it formed, and what caused you guys to be part of opening a brewery?
Yeah, great, good question. So 2016, we opened the doors here in Houston. It was an idea of initially my wife and I back in Australia when we were there, and just back in 2012, we just had this idea. We really wanted to have a go at this craft brewing, and not just not in your shed in your backyard when you're doing the home brewing stuff.
Have you done that?
I have, on that sort of scale, but it was to bring something. We had an idea and we just wanted to bring it to the front.
Is craft brewing a thing in Australia now, the way it is in the U.S.?
Very much so. It's really accelerated since about 2012. I mean, it's been present in Australia for a number of years, 20 plus years. But you go over there now, it's really come ahead. I mean,
That's
remember
great.
we're a country of 25 million people too, so we have to, in a very large geographical spread. But every major city in the country has an incredible network and an incredible craft brew scene.
So I couldn't imagine two places with a more disparately different accent than Australia and Texas. So you wound up in your mirror universe, so to speak, and decided to open a brewery. That's just such an interesting idea, because you said 2012, right?
2012, we were back in Oz. Look, my wife is actually from. She's a local Houstonian,
Okay.
so
All right.
there's the
So there you
connection.
go. Yep.
So when we say brew with Texan heart and Australian soul, it truly is. We
That's
have
awesome.
both local and Aussie. I originally was an expat in the oil and gas game back here in the late 90s and 2000s. My wife and I went back to Australia for a number of years, and then for family reasons we decided to move back to good old Houston. And so here we were at the beginning of 2015, where the oil and gas industry was just fantastic, right? Yeah, short memories, long memories. I don't know.
Yeah, that's right. Yes.
We just both looked at each other and we said, we're back in the US. We see a wonderful opportunity in Houston in terms of craft brewing. We have this business plan. We have this passion and vision. I mean, do we ignore that and in 20 years' time go, oh, coulda, shoulda, didn't? Or do we just get after it?
So
and here we are.
Did you approach it more from being a brewing fan, or did you approach it more from being a fan of just the idea of craft beer and went and found a brewer, like a brewmaster?
So a bit of both. We do have a professional brewer, Kerry, from California, but our vision, back in Australia when we're going to brew this, to have this business, it's the brewing, it was the pairing with the food, it was the whole experience. So it's the whole brew pub experience. Obviously, I have a vision to go broader than that in terms of the brewing aspect of it. But to get a professional brewer for me was essential. Yes, I understand the science of brewing. Yes, I can brew a beer. But it's a difficult step to go from home brew to commercial brew and get it right straight away.
And it's one thing to be the coach; it's another to be the quarterback.
Absolutely,
Good way to maybe look at it. Yeah.
We've got Kerry, who's got a wealth of experience through California. And has been the head brewer at a very large brewery, and just brings that experience. And with brewing, there's the mechanical aspect of the brewing in nature, but it's the artistic nature. That's where the rubber hits the road for me in terms of brewing. Coming up with the recipes, the combinations. You guys were talking about your cigars and the whiskey later on. It's very much an art to put this together.
Well, I want to point out, so I found your brewery when me and my wife were wandering around one day. It's on a rare day where I just didn't have anything else going on. We decided, hey, let's go hit a brewery or two. And we had wandered into a brewery that wasn't far from you guys and tried some of the beers. And then when we left there, we were coming back up
Washington Ave?
kind of the street behind Washington Avenue, and looked over and went, "Hey, there's a brewery right here." So we pulled in on a whim, like not having even noticed it before, and so we pulled in on a whim and went in and got 2 flights, and was like the beers were absolute quality, and then the food is so good. Like, so that's what brought this whole interruption, is your food is outstanding, and my wife loves going there. Like she'll talk about, you know, the fries especially, or the Brussels sprouts that you do. That's so good.
Oh yes, I had the Brussels sprouts. Very, very good.
That was always a key part of what Rutch and my wife and I wanted to do. We bring the beer, and it has to be quality. It just has to be. Otherwise, why are we doing this? But for us, and it might come back to the Aussie roots, where, you know, to pair that with just really, really good food, to me was the package deal. You know, I wasn't just going to have a brewery and then have sort of an ancillary food option. To me, it was a core part of what Platypus Brewing is all about.
You have poured us the first Platypus beer that we're going to try. What is this that we are tasting here?
So this is our fairly seasonal Mexican lager, Ole Chit. It might end up becoming a year.
That is awesome, by the way. That is just absolutely awesome.
Ole Chit, I think I'll have another.
I just want to interrupt you and say I applaud what the craft brewing industry as a whole is doing with creative beer names. But you guys may be like on the cutting edge of that. I really think so.
If you go back 5-10 years, really, it was just X brewery amber ale, X brewery IPA,
X brewery,
and I
stout,
think everybody's
whatever,
ready to let's be
Have some fun with it. Yeah.
Yes. Well, that seems to be, and it's something that when you look back at big beer is not having fun. No. Like, not only are they not having fun at where they find themselves in the industry right now, but if you just look at like the way they're marketed, the way the beers are named, it's not.
Apparently, if you're living the high life or at a banquet, you're very serious about it.
Yeah. Well, you know what I attribute it to?
And what really matters is the color of the can.
The color of the can is really important. And does it change
Do
color?
you guys have growlers that change colors?
I'm sure they can. We'll just put some certain ingredients in there and change whatever color you want.
I don't know why that's just one of the funniest
not
things to me.
Not to derail the conversation too much, but I really feel that this is indicative of what happens when companies like, I'm already hearing from your description of you guys, when the love for the product and the passion for doing it comes first, and marketing comes second. In other words, you want to create a product so good that people will buy it, rather than saying, what are people buying? Okay, let's make one of those. It's not about let's build a widget. It's about this widget is awesome.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can sell it to people. And that, I think, is why the craft brewing industry as a whole, because I think most craft brewers come at it that way. And I think that's why it's so much more fun, because these are people that are already passionate about what they're doing. It's not just, okay, let's do some research and we'll come back with, oh, don't do that. That might offend someone. You would never get, pronounce it correctly?
Ole Chit.
Ole Chit. You would never get that through the board meeting at a big corporation. It would never make it, right? But you guys can
It's
go,
a beautiful thing.
that's fun. We're doing it, and I love it, and that just the spirit of that. So I also love this beer, by the way.
Yeah, I
This
want to
is
talk about the beer for a
delicious.
second. So first off, in general, I've had some of the flights over at Platypus, so I know a little bit about it. I love how you guys don't crush the flavors of everything with as much hops as you can put in.
Thank you. Yep.
I like that they're balanced, and that's one of the things that brought me back to your brewery. Aside from having a nice, beautiful patio and awesome food.
Mm-hmm.
But this right here has such a nice balance, like the hibiscus, and it's like hibiscus and baking spices almost is kind of what I'm tasting in there, and it's malty too, right up front.
Well, I love that it is a Mexican. It is a Mexican lager, Mexican style lager, right? But it doesn't have that, and that's a style I really enjoy, particularly with certain foods. But it doesn't have. There's this Mexican style lager aftertaste that I'm not crazy about. That even some really great craft breweries have that aftertaste in their Mexican style lager. Yours instead keeps this really interesting. I think you said baking spice
Yeah.
flavor on my tongue in the finish, and I really really like that because this is, to me, it's like it's probably more drinkable than most Mexican style lagers for that reason, because it just says I want another, not like I like that at first until the finish.
Well,
you know?
I like the malty, and then there is a bitterness to the end of it, but not in a overwhelming way. Now, I said baking spices, and you've made that face twice now that it's been said. Tell me what's going on with this. Why am I tasting this, and you're kind of not agreeing with that? Maybe
Not at all. Beer is a very personal experience, and what I really enjoy is, I mean, I'm a shocker when it comes to trying to get all of these different flavors out of a beer. It's beer. It tastes good.
beer tasting beer.
Yeah, but what I really
Beer,
enjoy
good.
is people's perspectives and what they do get out of it. And to me, it's the face I was making was, that's really good. That's good feedback for me, okay, because you're getting educated on. We're all individuals. We all have different views and opinions and palates.
It's a very good and very drinkable
This
beer.
is very three-dimensional.
And I'm pretty sure I didn't order this one in the flight when I was there.
I will
so.
almost always avoid a Mexican-style lager.
Well,
Like I'm glad you
understand.
brought this because I generally, if I see it on the board, I'll pick something else.
Yep.
You know,
It's a style that you just assume is going to be
Mediocre at
macro
best.
mediocre
Yeah.
beer.
Yeah, but this is not that, and I think that's what I was sort of trying to say in a much more wordy fashion. But this is not. This doesn't come across like a macro brew, and in some cases, even at the craft breweries when they've made their Mexican style beer, it still kind of feels and tastes like a maybe slightly higher end Tecate. I'm not bashing Tecate. I actually like Tecate, but you know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't have that crafty flavor, and this does. This does in a big way.
And that was certainly the intent when we put this together. Was it has to be drinkable, has to respect the weather of Houston, so for the palate. And you're right, it was about how do we make this crafty without assaulting the senses on a lager.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
And even now, like it's warmed up a little in my glass, it tastes fine.
Yes.
Like the flavor stands up even when it's not ice cold,
Which is a thing for Mexican style
which
lager.
is very
Yeah.
tough to do with a lot of the Mexican style lagers.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, come back for another beer tasting and more with the guys from Platypus Brewing. But first, I have to ask you, if you're going to launch a new craft beer and you want to name it something that will take the market by storm, what could be better than naming your beer after a failed video rental chain? Blockbuster Beer is real, and it is being sold, about to be sold, at the only remaining Blockbuster video rental store in the United States.
If you don't bring the bottles back, they charge you every day.
I will have the story when we come back at Smoking and Toasting. Thank you for listening to show number 103.
That's crazy.
15 cents a day.
There were times where I rented videos. I was like, I'm just gonna buy it.
Yeah, right. Just saves time. It's just easier.
That's delicious.
Yeah, it's 6% too. This one. So
That's actually bigger than most.
It is bigger than
Mexican
most.
style, right? Yeah.
We were aiming for 5.5 to high fives. We got to 6, and we thought, do we change it? We went, no, dial it in, hard
Go
coated.
with the flavor.
Go
Love
with
it.
it. Yeah, because otherwise you've got to take some of the malt out, and you will change the balance.
I love the
Change
maltiness.
the malt
on
is
that.
what's really
that really makes me like that a
what
lot.
really propelling it. Yeah.
What kicks it off for me is that just the essence of lime from the kefir lime leaves.
At the very end of it,
Yeah, kaffir lime leaves go in the boil.
like you almost get that mostly in the retro hail.
Maybe it's the lime leaf that I'm tasting and trying to describe as the baking spice. Because something in there. Because it's not a lime taste. A lime leaf taste and a lime taste.
Could be
are
the
very
malt
different.
that they're using too that
Could
makes
be.
it taste.
It
like
has a
that.
certain yeastiness to it.
Yeah, it's got a bit of corn in there too, of course.
Yeah.
That's traditional.
So much body. Yeah.
Mexican lager.
Yeah, love it.
Is this the new one, mate?
Box
Is this-
kick.
Oh, the box kick.
Did you want to do the new one first?
No, not at all. That's probably best for last. Yeah.
Let's save that for the last segment. Okay. Here we go, kids.
All right. Hey, done it again. What did I do here, Chief?
Did we want new cups?
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, sure. We bring only the finest plastic.
The finest of plastic.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Smokin' and Toastin'. We are show number 103, and we are brought to you by B&B Butchers and Restaurant in the shops at Clear Fork in Fort Worth, and also at 1814 Washington Ave in Houston, and right across the street from 1814 Washington.
Same parking lot.
Yep, they're going to be opening a brand new. Well, no.
Oh no, I thought you were talking about
Well,
them. Sorry.
it's going to be the place to be because you got Platypus Brewing, you got B&B, and then B&B is opening a brand new hotspot called Lemon, which is going to be very exciting, and that's going to be coming up. We'll be telling you more about that. In fact, I kind of suspect that the next show we do from B&B may be from the patio there. So
That would be pretty sweet.
something. we look forward to.
Jeremiah said that was going to be open pretty quick. Huh?
Yep. So really excited about that. Now, craft brewing has essentially part of its position in the market has been, hey, it's better beer. It might be a little more expensive, but Founders Brewing, who, again, we have, I don't know if we've ever had a Founders on the show and not raved about it of any style. They are no stranger to being disruptive. And they did something that kind of went against the grain a little bit of the craft industry when they introduced, for their all-day IPA, the 15-pack of cans. It was kind of a big deal because, like, it was a way to, like, save a little money. They got some of that maybe shelf space that would have normally gone to big beer because of having the big box, and it worked really, really well. Now they are planning to release their new lager, which is the Solid Gold Lager, at a lower retail price than the rest of their craft beer line, and the initial response that they're getting has actually been overwhelmingly positive, and they are kind of adjusting their estimates to think that they will do triple the sales that they thought they would do with this lager.
Have you tried
because
the Solid Gold lager?
I haven't tried the Solid Gold from Founders. I've seen it, haven't
It's
tried
good.
it.
When I was on the river last time, we had some of that.
Basically, at places where craft beer 6-packs are selling for $8.99 and $9.99, this is selling for $6.99. And so that's the
getting
the sort
competitive
of
with the
discount.
big boys,
right?
too.
Exactly. It's like, okay, so if I can pay that price for a 6-pack of Miller Lite, or I can go with the Founders, which way am I going to go? And that's obviously what they're trying to do. I'd be real interested in you guys, and I know I'm going to ask you at some point if you have plans of being available retail, because right now you're just at the brewery and carryout. Correct? Yes.
I believe Sean already alluded to that.
Yes. So I'm hoping we will talk about that. But first, I'd love to know what you guys think about this. Is it a good move because it helps craft compete with the big boys, or is it a bad move because it devalues the impression of the product?
Yeah, look, I think there's a couple of angles on this thing, right? So, Founders obviously have put a lot of time and money and resources into market research, and who's your competition? Who's your demographic? Right. Who are you appealing to? And most of the independent craft brewers around the country, you're not necessarily appealing to the person who's only going to pay $4.99 for a 6-pack. Right. So they're going to be cut out of your population source.
Yeah, you're not appealing to the Keystone Light drinker.
Right. And well, you might try to appeal to their palate and convert them to more of a tasty beer, but if they're hell-bent on paying $4.99 for a 6-pack of beer, that's great. Go for it. There's plenty of products out there that you can
that are specifically designed for that.
Yeah. So craft beer, it is, given economies of scale and all that sort of wonderful stuff, it will naturally be priced higher. I applaud Founders for what they've done. So it appears to me, in my humble opinion, that they've reached out to try and influence that $5-6 price bracket and convert some of those consumers to a more favourable product. Good for them, and I think that helps craft brewing. Actually,
Yeah,
it's a perfect price point, honestly. If I mean, that's what you see things at sale prices for at your specs at your HEB. So if that's where you're at and you're hitting your margin where you want to be, great.
Good for them.
And they did it, I think, with the right product too, because the Solid Gold Lager, and Ian, you've tried it. I haven't tried it yet, but I have faith in Founders for quality because I've liked everything they've done. But they also it's a smart decision, not only because I'm sure they can produce this particular style a little bit less expensively,
Right.
but also
It would
because
be very difficult to produce their breakfast stout at
Right.
that price point, I'm sure.
And I'm right, exactly.
No $6.99 KBS.
No, right.
But I'm also thinking that if you're a Miller Lite or Bud Light drinker and you see this in the store, you're like, well, I'll try that. And I mean, it's an easier jump than say if they'd put the Dirty Bastard.
You could say I've been living the high
right?
life, but now I'm going for gold. Correct. Why am I not in marketing?
Oh, why are you? You were the man.
And why do I keep picking on Miller? I don't have anything against him, really.
Because they're the champagne of beers, and
Well,
that's
there's that.
when you are that, you open yourself up for some critique. Gentlemen, what are we tasting here? This is another growler that you've brought out here.
This is our recently revamped IPA called Box Kick.
Okay, so tell me first of all, what did you revamp and why?
Okay, so
More
here
malt.
it's a malt forward IPA, which is great. It used to be brewed with solely Vic Secret hop, which is a great Australian hop. But you have to be careful with Vic Secret. It's got to be done in balance. And it was a great beer. I liked it, but I think for the market we just softened it a little bit. We put a bit of Galaxy and a few others in there for good measure, and it's rounded it out a little
It's
bit.
very drinkable. Ian, you and I talk about this with IPAs all the time, that you want that hoppiness, but sometimes you cross that line to where you're chewing on a pine cone, and it's not an enjoyable drinking experience. It's more like that's interesting from a flavor standpoint, but after I'm finished with this, I'm going to order something else.
Right.
And this one has that sessionability because of the balance, I think.
There are many IPAs out there that I think are fine for half a glass. And what happens is when the hops are way too big and just not balanced, like you said, I love the balance. When the hops are way too big and it's not balanced, then about half a glass in, I'm done. I feel like I've been chewing on a pine cone. I'm over. This right here has that malt forward profile, which I love. I absolutely love IPAs that have that malt.
When did this get revamped?
Oh gosh,
Early
6
in the
weeks
month,
ago.
yeah.
Oh, okay, so when I was there maybe several months ago, I probably had it before the revamp because this, I want to say I don't have the best memory in the world, but I want to say this tastes a little different than what I would have ordered when I was there.
Correct. Now, we're not about changing up beers all the time. Consistency is very important, certainly in our industry. But
This was a calculated step.
This was a calculated step. We tried the Vic Secret hop. It is an incredible hop. It truly is. But you just got to be careful with it and make sure it's used in the right balance. We're very happy with the Box Kick IPA version 1. Otherwise, it wouldn't have made it onto the tap wall. But we thought, for our demographic, the feedback we're getting, let's just tweak it and balance it out a little bit with a few of these other great hops, Galaxy and a few of the others.
It has to be a little bit of an intimidating thing to do. Like you've got an IPA, it's working pretty well. You're getting some feedback that maybe if you tweaked it a little bit and took it a little bit direction might be even better. But man, that's got to be like when do you like pull the plug? I think that's really the way that a lot of new IPAs are born is breweries, instead of changing
Make a
what
test
they have,
batch.
they make a test batch and they call it something else and put it out. Because there's a couple of companies that have several beers in their lineup that taste
Real similar.
very, very similar to each other with just the tiniest bit of difference. And that doesn't mean that both of those lines aren't successful, but this was an interesting decision, I think, for you guys.
Yeah, no, well, thank you, and it's not one that's taken lightly.
Yeah.
And we've seen the market's been really responsive to it. It's moving, and
The allocation that I was allowed to sell outside of the brewery was gone within a week.
And so, talk to me a little bit about that. Obviously, you're not available yet in cans and bottles, but you have growlers that are available some places.
So
or how does it work? Is it all kegs?
So we sell kegs. I sell kegs anywhere that wants them.
Okay.
We have over 120 accounts that me and the other sales rep, Jason, manage together. And
by the way, one of the most amazing tap handles ever.
we have so one of the things that really turned me on to Platypus was the logo and the tap handle.
Yeah.
At my former employer, I would always say, man, that Platypus, they got a handsome logo. And they'd always bring something up and be like, hey, who's got some good beers around town? I'll be like, well, this one brewery with a real handsome logo. And it got to the point where they're like, if you say Platypus one more time, I'm going to ask you to leave.
There you go. Yeah, so but yeah, we're in kegs around town. Yeah, 120 plus accounts. We have plans for packaging, of course.
Yes.
So we're going through those motions right now.
And I won't ask you to reveal anything you're not ready to reveal, but what do you think your timeline might be? When might people be able to find Platypus in the stores?
Yeah, it's a difficult question to answer purely because there's a number of hurdles that are outside your control. So you've got some regulatory hurdles, which are not that huge, but it's a time factor.
Right? Time consuming.
So you guys did something. I think it's all the rage right now. The trend of starting a new brewery is to do it the way that you guys did it, which is to start it as a location, a destination, food, maybe some interesting promotions and activities going on there at the brewery. Cigar-friendly patio, exactly. To do it all that way, and then worry about packaging and going to retail when the time comes. You guys, I think, were a little ahead of the curve on doing it that way. Now, that's almost the golden rule of starting a brewery is you do it that way first, right?
Well, look, I think you're right. I think this comes back to our initial business structure and vision between my wife and I. We always wanted to have a destination. We came into Houston. We, never for a second did we. You never want to pioneer this stuff. You never want to be the first person out front on these things. You always want to be a follower. It's great to lead certain things, but business models in new cities, no. Look, wine was a key part of our structure as well. So we wanted somewhere we can actually drink good wine. We have good Aussie wine at the brewery. Well, as we know, our wonderful little quirky laws in this state and country, there's a myriad of laws, and you've just got to navigate through. Now, if I wanted wine, which was a core part of my original plan, then I had to be a brew pub, and therefore the food component. So it all gelled together for me.
Be a brew pub instead of just a brewery.
Correct.
Yeah.
And to me, it was two things. Number one's the sheer economics. Is your market and the amount of volume you need to send into the market to keep your head above water, versus have a destination where people can enjoy it. So there's an economics factor there as well. But for us, it was really just a vision of what we wanted to create, what we wanted Platypus to represent, and it was always part of our key strategy to start and then go.
Yes, I think one of the reasons that it works is because you don't overextend yourself right off the bat. The amount of money that it takes to gear up to try to even make a dent in the whole shelf space war at retail is, or not to mention the tap handle war in bars. That requires a significant financial commitment. You can sort of begin the groundswell by just being a really cool destination and a really cool location that brews great beer. So I think that's the reason that it's catching on. And I think we're seeing a trend now of more breweries, but smaller breweries.
Right.
And so I think it'll be interesting to see how many of the smaller guys can make that jump that you're looking at, which is to say I want our fans to be able to find us in stores and on taps around the city. Obviously, you're already making a dent in the taps, but
yeah. But back to your question before about timing. Look, regulatory constraints aside, and various, we'll try going as fast as we can in terms of graphic design, getting cans put together. So we're sitting basically. It's the beginning of September of 2018. Don't mark my words, but we're going to try for the back end of 2018 to have a couple of
that'd be awesome.
the Platypus juice on the shelves.
Just
would
in
be
time
awesome.
for OND, October, November, December.
There you go. Spoken like a guy that understands the retail environment. Yeah,
it is certainly my priority as part of my job.
I just want to say I'm the IPA fan on the show, and I'm really enjoying this beer. This is really I would put it in my when are you going to be available in stores category? Because this is something I would buy and bring home on a very regular basis. Is it at all intimidating? There's so many. I say so many. There's a handful of breweries around the country of craft guys that have just decided we're going to plant our flag on IPA. And that's what we're going to do. IPAs and pale ales. The Stone Brewing comes to mind. There's the guys at Ballast Point are kind of IPA centric, and there's a number of others. Is it intimidating at all for guys like yourself who are broader in spectrum to go?
You guys have a wide range of beers that you brew.
We're gonna put out an IPA, and we're gonna try to get it to stand tall with those guys.
No, you're absolutely right. It's the right question, and we do have a wide range of beers for that exact reason. You've just got to be smart about it. And here we are in Houston. We got some great IPAs that come out of California. There's the Stones and all the others. Do you want to hit these guys head on with IPAs, or do you want to have a bit more of a smarter strategy and have a broader product selection? Right. And so we're working through that, and we think we know what we want to do, and we don't necessarily want to plant the flag and say Platypus IPAs. We're going to make some great product.
But
we're going
I
to compete on
appreciate
a
that
broader,
because unlike
spectrum.
him, IPAs are not my first go-to.
Right.
And I understand that they're incredibly popular and you have to have one, and this is a very good one, just due to its balance and the malt up front and everything. But I love the fact that when I walked in there and bought a flight, it didn't have 6 IPAs on it. And there are certain places in town, I'm not pointing fingers, but there are certain places in town that have 6 IPAs on the menu.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and then
but you're right, Ian. It's the broad spectrum, and I appreciate that too. I mean, IPA might be my go-to, but I love going. Okay, I wonder what their stout is like.
Yeah, and I don't care if it's middle of summer. I'll have a porter. I love malty beers.
Yeah,
I make a barley wine for me. I love those.
Yeah,
I think in terms of the USA, or certainly in Houston, if you've got a craft brewery, you need to have a stand-up IPA, without a doubt.
Yeah,
I think that's right. Because if a guy like me comes in and I haven't tried anything, I'm going to try your IPA first. And if it's just kind of okay, I'm not going to be as excited about coming back and trying the rest. But if I go, okay, these guys made a pretty darn good IPA,
credibility.
Then
I'd like to also reiterate, we're totally not anti-IPA because we just did a whole our summer sip series.
Yeah, summer sipping series of IPAs.
Different IPAs.
Right. I remember seeing some of that when I was there. Actually, that you guys were experimenting with some different styles of IPA.
So we did the Houston's Hoppy Hooch, which was our hazy IPA.
Yep.
Then we did Granddaddy Perp.
Granddaddy Perp. We did a peach IPA.
Peach IPA, show us your peaches. And then Granddaddy Perp, which is our blackberry double dry hopped IPA.
Show us your peaches.
Show us your peaches.
Again, this would never get through the boardroom at big business craft beer, but it's fun. It's part of the vibe of that. And I like that. Will you do something like that with other styles now? Where you focus on other styles and do a number of limited releases in that style.
We are always coming up with different stuff when we sit around and chat at the end of the day.
Look, we've got a cactus juice
hibiscus.
coming out. Hibiscus next week. We've got a fig. We won't tell you the name just now, but we've got it's similar to a brown ale fig, so that's going to be our Oktoberfest. So we're going to do a standard Oktoberfest beer. We'll do the Platypus juice, right? So
love it.
We'll probably bring the rye IPA back. Which is
the rye will come back.
Yeah. Oh, the rye IPA, yes.
If you like a dry, bitter IPA, then that is.
All right. Well, guys, we're going to ask you in our next segment to taste some whiskey with us.
All right, for sure.
And you happen to be here on a day when I have no idea where this is going to go. We could all go home raving about this, or it could be like when Ian had me try Malort on the show, which was made for an interesting show, but did not make for my new favorite drink. We will be
surprise him with that.
Yep,
it's the Chicago spirit, right?
Yes. We'll be trying the Skrew Ball Peanut Butter Whiskey. I don't know what to expect, but we'll try that next. Plus, as promised, folks, we're going to tell you about the Blockbuster beer. I know you guys are going to want to make a road trip just to try this.
Giddy up.
I'm sure.
It's Smoking and Toasting, and we will be right back. Thank you for listening.
You should have seen his face when he took the first sip of the Malort.
Oh, my God.
I've heard just horror stories about Malort.
Releasing today too.
I'll bring you some.
Oh, yes, let's do that.
So it's going to be a taproom release today.
I have a bottle.
All right, so we'll do.
I've heard it just horrific.
We'll do the whiskey at the top of this next segment.
So
and
my
then
friend
we'll
would
do
describe it
one more
as
beer, and then we'll do one beer.
It's challenging to
Perfect.
appreciate.
Oh, wow. So,
Excuse me.
it's a bar that a podcast I listen to they always go to Chicago and do live shows, and they will force them to drink Malort on stage. And each time they've done it, one of the hosts has gotten ill, just ill.
Oh my God, yeah.
My lord.
It's this very
It's wormwood
horrible taste
spirit.
Spirit, yeah.
It's like wormwood. It's like.
Yeah, it's pretty much just wormwood.
Yeah, it's pretty much just
Yeah,
wormwood.
wormwood.
It leaves you feeling like you just chewed up a chunk of wormwood flavored with gasoline.
That sounds
You-
horrific.
You know how, like,
Well,
if
it's
you-
entertaining.
Yeah.
You know, if you try an absinthe, even though it's got that wormwood, vibe to it, and even if you don't enjoy the flavor, you at least go, I get it. I get that there would be people that this would appeal to, and I get what they were kind of trying to go for. The same cannot be said for Malort. It's like
An acidic, herby type of.
it tastes like ass. Is what it tastes like.
Well, that's what the kids like today
Yeah,
to
well-
do is eat the ass. So
All right. So we'll try the whiskey at the top of the segment,
Sure.
and then we'll.
yeah, this is
try another
y'all.
beer.
Y'all are one of the earliest people that have gotten to try this.
Very
Awesome.
excited.
Yeah, this is coming out today.
You're doing a release tonight. I guess I'm gonna.
7 o'clock.
Yeah.
I'm gonna talk to my wife, see about coming
7,
out
is it?
tonight. Then
7:00.
You both gonna be there?
I will be there.
Yeah, I've got to race over and do an Aussie government thing, and then I'll be back for that. Yeah.
Well, let's see. If I make it out, I'll bring that bottle of Malort,
There you go.
Oh my gosh!
so you can experience it for yourself.
I should be there by 7. Yeah.
I'll give it a sniff and then run away.
I'll run it by the wife. We'll see. But she's usually up for like, hey, let's go. Let's go have a beer.
Probably some Brussels sprouts in there for you. So
so good.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they're not bad, are they?
Really, guys, really like the
On the box kick.
box kick. Yeah,
It's a good rugby term too. You see, I'm a rugby tragic. So.
Scrum is fun to say.
Scrum.
I don't know that I'd call a beer scrum, but it's very fun to say.
Word of the
we
day.
had the double IPA called Ruckin' Mall, which is another.
That's right.
Rockin' Ma. I love it.
Scrum with a head
All
up
right.
your bum.
Ready to roll. Welcome back to Smoking and Toasting. That's a Houston original band right there. Gulf Coast Soul from the Suffers.
The Suffers are so
yeah,
good.
they are really awesome. So, welcome back to the show. Speaking of music, by the way, and shifting our gears to the whiskey direction for just a moment. I'm just going to have fun saying this. We've talked about this on the show before that Metallica is about to release their own whiskey. We find out today that Metallica's new whiskey, which they came about this close to actually naming Whiskey in the Jar O, but they didn't.
Good.
Metallica's new whiskey will be infused with rock.
Of course.
They are actually going to, as the barrel age the whiskey, they are actually going to be playing a special playlist of Metallica tunes, including apparently possibly even some unreleased Metallica music
Will it be back when Metallica
towards
rocked?
the barrels. I don't know. It turns out
There were a few albums there that
each batch of whiskey is going to be blasted with a specially designed playlist of Metallica's music. After the whiskeys have been combined in the black brandy casks for finishing, they're jolted back to life by, I'm reading from the press release here, the unmistakable earth-shattering music of Metallica, using our proprietary sonic enhancement system,
somebody put a speaker box on top of the barrel.
Black Noise, trademark.
That's something out of the TV show
Yes.
Metalocalypse.
The whiskey is pummeled by sound, causing it to seep deeper into the barrel, where it picks up additional wood flavor characteristics. I can't make this stuff up. I'm reading it from the
That's
press release.
Beautiful.
Yeah. You can listen, by the way, to the playlist that emblazoned each batch on both Spotify and Apple Music. Dave Pickerel, former master distiller with Maker's Mark and the band's partner in this project, and he was our guest on the show several episodes ago. He's now the Whistle Pig guy. He is known for resting his whiskeys in barrels that have been previously used to make other spirits during the maturation process. process. For blackened, he chose brandy cast. Blackened is the name of the whiskey, by the way.
It's
Metallica
also the
blackened.
end. Blackened is the end.
Yeah, so the result is an added apricot note, they say, that plays perfectly alongside the honey and caramel tones of the pre-finished spirit. You can pre-order it now, and the first bottles are expected to ship in mid-September.
How much is it? Does you have a price over there?
I don't think it says a price in this particular.
You know, I totally have
article.
that song
I'm
Blackened stuck in my head now, right?
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
That was written, by the way, when Metallica rocked.
You can pre-order it now. Yeah, there's also a corresponding clothing line. That's all it says. It does not tell us about the actual launch date. Now, let me change whiskey directions yet again and show the camera.
And now for something
Skrew Ball
completely different.
Peanut butter whiskey with a sheep on the front. It says underneath the sheep there, "Tomorrow's stories begin right here." So that's a pretty good line. It's whiskey with natural flavors and caramel color, and this was given to me by Katie Whiteside, who works here at our offices. And Katie apparently knew someone in high school who's gone on to become a distiller, and this is his company, and he is launching the peanut butter flavored whiskey. And I'm going to pop the top on it now. And actually, I may not be popping the top because I may need to still pull a little of this stuff away before I can do
That's
that.
a pretty good-looking sheep there. I'd say Kiwis would be quite attracted to that.
Yeah, it really is.
This will sell well in New Zealand, I think.
I was about to say, this is going to be a New Zealand joke coming up. I can feel it. I can just feel it coming up.
I'll drink these close to a cliff's edge because
Now
I
you-
push back harder.
Now, while I'm trying to pop the top on this, I
Are
will
letting
tell
that
you.
bottle kick your butt?
Yeah, no, I got it. I will tell you that Crowded House is like one of my favorite bands of all time.
they're
So,
all right, they're
so I have to go a little easy on the New Zealanders because
Also,
they brought us.
they
Crowded
gave
House.
us Flight of the Conchords, which
Yes,
is
and
hilarious.
you have to love that as well. So
No, they're not a bad mob.
yeah,
They're all right.
there we go. Okay, guys, I smell peanut butter. I do not know how this is going to go. This is either going to be awesome or terrible. I don't know which. And I will already, pre-apologize to Katie just in case we didn't wind up loving this. But I don't know how it's going to go. I can tell you that I'm smelling peanut butter more.
smells like
as
peanut butter.
I mean, they're not lying. They did what I
It
think
smells
they
like
intended
peanut butter
to
and
do.
whiskey.
Yeah, they did what they intended to do. Now, guys, I'm only
It
pouring.
smells like sweet peanut butter.
I'm
doesn't
only
it?
pouring
Yeah.
a small
Very
amount
sweet.
of this because, I guess what I'm trying to say is there's more if you want it, but I don't want to over pour.
You
Just
don't,
in
you don't
case
have to be
this isn't-
committed to the whole thing. you
Yeah,
know?
this isn't your thing. So, all right, Skrew Ball peanut butter whiskey. It is. I'm trying to see if there's anything else on the bottle that we need to read. Here's to a night for the risk takers just like you, it says on the bottle. It is produced and bottled by Skrew Ball Spirits in San Marcos, California. And that's about all we know about Skrew Ball whiskey, except that it is infused with peanut butter. Ian, the look on your face is not unlike my Malort look. So, so talk to me.
It's. You ever put too many Reese's Pieces in your mouth?
Oh, sweet, isn't it?
I don't think
It's-
that's possible.
So you're really enjoying this.
I don't hate it.
Now,
Yeah.
So it is exactly what it says.
It is way sweet for a whiskey, though, isn't
very
it? Yeah.
peanut buttery, but it is very sweet. It literally, to me, tastes like a Reese's Pieces, but better because there's whiskey involved. So I would probably drink this rather than eat a bunch of Reese's Pieces. But it's in that same space.
It almost feels, and I don't think it is, but the sweetness almost makes it feel a bit syrupy.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's not very hot either.
Right.
There's
not a
very
lot of
little heat. Now, I will tell you, at least on the aftertaste, there's a lot of peanut butter, but not as much sweet on the aftertaste.
Right. I
So
agree with that.
That's kind of a good thing.
The sweet is kind of up front, but as it fades, it's more peanut butter.
I'm enjoying all the faces going on over here from Sean.
Well, I'm not a huge whiskey drinker per se, but it's drinkable. But it's almost, to me, it's almost closer to a liqueur than it would be
Yeah,
to a whiskey.
it-
you know?
very much
it
tastes
does
like
have that quality to it. Again, it feels a little bit syrupy, and yeah. I wonder, though.
Oh, it is 70 proof, so it's 35%, so it's a little lighter than...
I wonder, though, if
Understand.
this might be amazing in certain cocktails.
I was just thinking if they barrel it, it would be fun for a barrel stout.
Oh, I bet.
Right.
Yeah, it would actually. Yeah.
To be able to infuse. Now we had on the show, was it last weekend? Lakewood Brewing's Peanut Butter Temptress.
Yeah.
And I have to say,
That was good.
it was good. It was good. I was a bit surprised at how much we liked it.
Peanut butter beers are a very hit or miss.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I don't want to say that this whiskey is a miss. I think it's really good.
I think
I
there's
just
a
think it's
purpose for
very,
this, though.
Right, it's a very specialized taste that you would want to have.
Yeah. Because I don't think I could sit down with a cigar and drink this by itself like this.
It may be too sweet for a cigar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's also possible if you melt some ice in there that some of that sweetness will dilute too.
That's a good point.
Which may make it a little more drinkable on its own. Now, I'm willing to bet, like you guys said, that in a mixer, if you have some peanut butter kind of mix, I don't know what you'd put in there. This might be a.
So what about
this
like an
might be
old
something I'd
fashioned
put-
or something like
My
that?
wife loves to play with drinks and mix stuff. Like, you give her a recipe and she's immediately going to do what she does to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I bet she could make something really interesting out of this. Whereas me, I'm more of a, pour it in a glass and let's go.
See, now we're going to have, as a special guest on the show, the cocktail master in a couple of weeks from Ritual and the Ready Room, Peter. And I wonder what someone like Peter could take this and do.
Can we do it like one of those cooking shows where we just reveal this and 2 eggs and a stick of cinnamon and be like, go?
Like Iron Chef, yeah. It'd be like Iron Cocktail Maker. Yeah, but I would imagine he could come up with a drink and call it the Reese's, and it would be amazing. And you'd go, that tastes just like a peanut butter cup, and it's delicious.
It might
And
be
would have the
interesting
right
too,
balance
with just
to
a
it.
little soda in it, or a little bit of maybe tonic to give it a little bit bitter snap on the end.
Right.
To temper that sweet. I don't know. It's interesting. This is
it's
not a bad whiskey.
I will say, and Ian, you're right. The sweetness is up front. On the finish, it's peanut butter. It doesn't leave a too sweet taste in your mouth. But when you take that first sip, you're almost convinced that it's.
Well,
going
I'll tell you, if you love Reese's Pieces, you're gonna love this because
Mm-hmm.
it tastes just like Reese's Pieces. Only it has whiskey, which makes it better than Reese's Pieces.
Now, in this segment, we're also going to do a beer tasting, and this, I don't know if we have anything as a palate cleanser because I don't know how the beer is going to work after this. Normally, whiskey and beer are pretty good together, but I just don't know. But the guys have got a special release that is coming out tonight. Is that right?
Correct.
And so this obviously would only be at Platypus Brewing on Washington.
As of now, it is only going to be available at the brewery, and then Saturday at Brewmasters.
Oh, cool. So you guys are part of the Brewmasters thing.
Correct.
So tell us a little bit about this beer and how long will it be available?
So this is our first collaboration we did with Copperhead Brewing in Conroe.
Interesting.
And it's also their first collaboration. It's a hazy IPA. It is made with Citra, Azacca, and Galaxy hops. It's called Definitely a Collaboration.
Nice.
And it's, I think, maybe one of the best beers that we've made as far as our IPAs of the summer.
Yeah, steady there, big fella. But it's a good drop. It's a good drop.
It's a good draw. So how does the collaboration work? Will they release it at their brewery and you release it at the same time?
So as soon as we get done with the release and everything, I'd say about next week, you will see it there. You will see it around town at bars.
Yeah, we need to get a final approval from TABC, who are very good on these things. They're quick
Right.
turnaround, but we just need to get that little bit of regulatory thing there just ticked and tight. So.
Makes sense. And do you find that the customer is this more interesting because it's a collaboration than if you guys had just said we have a great new hazy IPA and released it with some very cool name?
I think it gives it a little bit more of a, we haven't tried their stuff, but we've tried their stuff.
Right.
So you
right.
bring in new people to each brewery. The little people get to learn a little bit more about, what everybody has to offer. It's also fun just to get two brewers together and see if they can make it happen instead of tearing each other's heads off.
It's kind of like when the singer guest stars on the rapper's album.
Yes.
And then pretty soon everybody knows who the singer is, and he's bigger than the rapper was. Yeah.
There you go. And the platypus could take down a copperhead any day of the week.
See,
I told Seth that. Yeah.
Is there a sense of friendly competition between you and the other collaborator?
I wouldn't say competition. I think we do vastly different things. Mm-hmm. They have a very strong package game, and they make really Belgian-style beers.
Right.
He's got a really good quad. He's got a really good Belgian Golden. His IPA is totally different from our IPA. They have a blonde lager. We've got the Mexican lager. Mm-hmm. But really, everything that they make is very, very different than us.
Well, guys, let's give this a try. I'm anxious to do some sampling here. I'm a fan of the genre, so it'll be interesting to see. But yeah,
Good one, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a steel growler, right?
Yes.
Do you
Stainless.
sell those up at the shop?
Yeah, it was part of our. We're transitioning our club, but it was part of that. We're transitioning to a new thing, but we might have some residuals there that we could fall off the back of a truck.
While he's pouring, tell me about that, because I saw that on your website that you can become a Platypi, and it's like I think a yearly commitment. But what do you get for what's the idea behind that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're transitioning over to a mug club, actually. So,
nice.
So think of it as the Platypi. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Cheers, mate. So it'll be a mug club, but it'll be basically we do events. We'll have private tastings,
Mm-hmm.
private releases. So this one, for example, would be released to the Platypi prior to anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
We do really good food pairings with it because we use obviously our chef John in the kitchen.
Right.
So yes, but watch this space as we
Okay.
rewrap this. And,
So this is
shoot it out.
this is something you're transitioning to look a little different than
Absolutely.
what you've done in the past.
That's
Well,
right.
I love the crowler. That's great.
Yeah, it's a beauty, isn't it?
That's really gorgeous. And
Yeah, we'll
just
show that for the camera. Where's
just
the camera?
giving
Where's
this.
the camera?
Yep, you can point it right there.
Oh, you
That'll
got it
work.
right there in yours, yeah.
Just giving this a little bit of nose. This has just got me written all over it. This is my kind of thing right here.
I know the juicy thing is a little bit of a fad right now, but I like a lot of the juicy
Yes,
ones.
I do too.
I don't know why. There's something about
this.
them.
This strikes me.
It's like an unfiltered, ridiculous version of an IPA that I kind of like.
Yeah, well, it's a little over the top, and that's why it's fun.
Yeah.
But it's not over the top hops, which like an Imperial IPA can be. And I enjoy the flavor of that, but I very seldom want a second one.
This has some very serious mouth-watering bitterness to it that I enjoy tremendously. Like, you take a sip and you immediately want that next sip because it's like just leaves your mouth watering.
And it feels like it was made with the juices of limes and lemons and grapefruits and anything citrus.
Yeah,
It's
that's definitely the whole profile.
It's also interesting to see a beer that's
How
this
hazy it
light
is,
in color, how hazy and actually thick it kind of is as well.
But one thing it won't have is the yeast particulates that you get in some of the other things that look like basically an orange juice.
Right.
This is it's definitely a hazy, but it is clear in terms of not having floaties, as we call it.
Yeah, there's no adjuncts in it. There's no. I know.
Now, see, I
people
don't
have-
really mind the floaties so much. He tends to complain about it.
Well, I don't mind them as long as I don't chew them. That to me, that's the thing.
A yeast ball in there.
Yeah, Ian brought in a beer once for us to taste on the show. That when I tell you it was chewy, that's not an adjective. That's what happened.
I mean, there's some of them
Like
that
knife
I
and fork.
Yes, yes.
don't enjoy at all. I
Yeah.
mean, I've had some hazy beers that they just get poured down the drain. They're drain pours. But I mean, it's all about balance,
Right.
Which brings us
and
back
this
to what,
strikes me as wonderfully balanced
Yes.
for a hazy IPA. Just
Show that to the
just
camera, can I
very, very the color and the sort of the way the light doesn't pass completely through it is
Yeah.
a wonderful thing.
You
Yeah.
definitely could not read through it.
No.
Let's put it that way.
Not so much.
But I think my favorite part about it is just how soft it is on the palate.
Yes.
There's wonderful flavors.
That's a
the
great word
aromatics.
for it, too. I would have never thought soft, but it does have that kind of soft, rounded edges kind of IPA thing going on.
Loving it. All right, we're going to try a little more of this, and then the guys have one more for us to try, and then I have to lay on you the story of...
Oh, I think that was the last one for them. We got a whiskey.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
whiskey
Okay, well, we'll...
Panic look on his face.
No,
was
we'll be
hilarious.
back. I'm sorry. I thought we were... I thought we had one more, but that's okay. We'll drink more of this. And we will be back to talk Blockbuster beer next on Smoking and Toasting.
Buster beer.
Yeah, this is a good one.
Oh, I'm sorry. I misunderstood. I thought you had one more.
No, you're right, mate. I think what's this 7.5?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big one, but we had a couple of sherbets last night, and they left a bit of a mark. So yeah, it was good.
Nice.
Yeah, nice.
All right. Well, this will be our final segment, and
Skrew Ball, interesting.
yes, to say the least.
Yeah, wow.
There's the top for
You
that.
made a stout and you put it in barrels. That would be great.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I just don't think I could have a.
Oh, sorry, Jason.
Ian,
You get one?
pour him.
Oh, you're out. You need another?
Sorry. Pour him a little bit. So
Oh,
you
he
can
didn't
taste
get-
it.
Oh, the whiskey.
What'd you think, Adam? You're a peanut butter guy.
Oh,
What do you think?
I think that would go really well if you blended that with another whiskey.
Yeah.
If you poured a little bit more whiskey, it was too much.
It was too much peanut butter. Yeah.
It was good peanut butter, good sweetness, but I think you got to knock it off a little bit extra more. I would want more heat, more whiskey, more of a.
Mm-hmm.
There you
just
go.
I feel like the peanut butter should be more of an undertone. versus,
Agreed.
like,
Yeah. It's a
straightforward.
little dominant. Yeah.
Yeah.
Although the crowd that can I have a little more of it?
Absolutely.
Delicious.
And
Yeah,
if
it's
there's
good one,
enough
isn't it?
The
left, I'll
crowd
have
that
more
really
too.
likes
Yeah, there's plenty there.
Fireball and things
Right.
like that would
No,
probably really enjoy.
No, you're
this.
right. Because Fireball's one of those things that, like, you don't want to have it when you're sitting down having a cigar and whiskey. But it can be fun, like, if you're with a group of buddies and you're just kind of throwing something back.
Right.
You know? And I can see maybe
And
this
for a
falling
shot,
into that category.
and for a shot, this has like no heat whatsoever. This
Right.
could actually be a little dangerous.
Right.
Oh, right. So it's good enough for us to keep talking about at least.
Well, yeah.
Unlike Malort, which was bad enough for us to keep talking about.
Or the really the worst though is when it's just kind of unremarkable.
Right.
When you're like, that's really good, but then you like even forget that you tried it. You know, we won't forget this, and I will certainly never forget Malort.
And you're going to bring some to the brewery tonight, you said?
Yeah, I'll bring it back.
Nice.
All right, final segment. Here we go, kids.
On the beach in Hawaii.
Ah, Ziggy. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is Smoking and Toasting. It is our 103rd show. Can you believe no one has stepped in to make this stop? We've been doing this for 103 episodes.
Seriously, what are you people thinking?
And 102 of them are available on the internet. So we had a producer who actually nixed one of our episodes because apparently I was too bitter.
You were very angry.
And I'm not saying that I'm bitter about it, but I'm kind of bitter about it. And let's just say that producer's no longer with us. So there you go. All right. So if you were going to release a new beer, right? And this is something you guys do all the time, right?
Yep, that's right.
You're going to release a new beer. What better way to brand it and market it and align yourself than with the name of a failed retail establishment that was hip in the 80s and 90s, but these days, not so much. That's exactly what's happening because the last blockbuster in America, and doesn't that sound like a movie itself?
Yeah.
The last blockbuster. The last blockbuster in America is in Bend, Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
And unless you live there, chances are you'll never visit a Blockbuster again, ever. But it's a small town, and it's the last remaining location of the video rental chain in the country. And guess what? They are releasing a Blockbuster-themed beer. They're doing it in conjunction with 10 Barrel Brewing Company. So it's a crap. I think is 10 Barrel. I believe 10 Barrel is one of the ones that Anheuser-Busch bought. I believe
Yes,
it was one of the
that
ones
sounds
that they
right.
acquired in their great acquisition. But still a very good brewery. But they've collaborated with the store to create the last Blockbuster, a black ale that they're saying pairs perfectly with buttery theater popcorn and your favorite movie-sized chocolate. It's a limited edition brew with light body, smooth finish, and hints of nostalgia. And it's going to be available at all 6 10 Barrel pub locations across the West, 2 of which are right there in Blockbuster's backyard. But again, only at one Blockbuster because that's all that's left. I can't even imagine. Like,
And if you're in the north and you don't bring your bottles back within the deposit period, they start charging you per day.
it's yeah.
I don't know why that's hilarious to me, but
It is.
Like, I can't tell you how many dollars I've spent at Blockbuster just because, like, I'm lazy about bringing it back. I used to live.
That's what kept Blockbuster afloat for as long as
I used
it
to
did.
live 2 blocks from the Blockbuster and still couldn't get them back on time. I had to walk my dog by it every day and still couldn't get the darn things back in time.
You know, naming your beer after Blockbuster. Doesn't it feel sort of like, hey, don't worry, we got a celebrity spokesperson for our beer. Cyndi Lauper is going to be our, right? Like somebody that was like really, really hot for like 5 minutes.
You know what, though? Oddly enough, she writes great songs.
Well, honestly, it's unfair to her. I'm picking on her because I'm tired of seeing her on that drug commercial that she
Scabies
does.
or something, isn't it?
Yeah. And I feel bad for her, and I'm glad she got the drug and it's working. But I'm just tired of the commercial. That's
I hadn't seen it. I don't watch TV, so I don't
That's
Scurvy.
right. Yeah.
I don't know. I forget what it is.
Ian doesn't watch.
I literally will boggle your brain how much I don't watch TV.
Dude, Better Call Saul. Just get on board now. It's just that good. It's just that good. But no, I was just saying the whole Blockbuster thing. I mean, it really makes me laugh. I mean, it was a part of the fabric of life for so many years. And then it just wasn't. Like, it was the 1-2 punch of Netflix and Redbox.
Yep.
Was what really did Blockbuster in. The fact that you could find a Redbox, like, Ian probably could have got his movies back if they'd been at Redbox, because it was so cool.
I'm surprised Redbox is still around, too. Like, who actually goes out and rents movies and
There'd
doesn't
probably
just
be one in
stream
your
them?
backyard.
I know those like little vending machines.
Yeah, there's a
I know they're
like right
struggling,
outside
too.
the Walgreens by my house.
Yeah.
There's
Okay.
like 2 different machines that are the same thing.
They may be almost more fueled by video game rentals now.
I've seen that they do have
And,
video game rentals, so
yeah.
there's probably that. I can see that being a market because you run a video game and then you beat it.
Yeah.
It's such a turnkey operation too. That,
Yeah,
like,
right. They have no employees sitting there waiting for you. Nobody whose job it is to rewind. Remember?
Be kind, rewind.
And there was always somebody at the Blockbuster that their job was to stick those in the rapid rewinder.
Yeah, they had machines
rewind
for that,
them all.
and
there
they
was
charged you for it. Really?
Yeah.
a fee if you didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, Blockbuster beer. I would love to try it just because I'd love to be able to say I tried it. You know what I mean?
There's that.
There's that. But it'll be interesting to see which lasts longer on the market, the beer or the final outlet of Blockbuster.
It's interesting where it's located. You said
Where is the
Bend,
final
Oregon.
outlet?
Bend, Oregon. And
Isn't that retirement city of the U.S. now?
I think it is. Yeah, I think it's. I think it's a, and maybe that's why the store is still relevant, because I never figured out those darn
That's the way
DVRs.
we always done it.
Yeah, you got to wonder though. Like, if you're the last Blockbuster, like, nobody's sending you new point of purchase material. Nobody's sending you your automatic shipment of the new DVDs. Like, you're having to do all that yourself.
Walking into a time machine.
Yes.
Yeah, right?
Absolutely amazing. Well, Ian, you have before we were talking about trying the Skrew Ball peanut butter whiskey, you had brought along a little bit of Booker's that you're sharing with us now, since we have one more
I'm
segment.
sharing.
here.
We're going to finish this bottle today, of course.
I believe we are,
That
yes.
being said, I didn't bring much of it. This
Yeah.
Booker's is so good.
Yeah. Now, this is a favorite of yours from your bar at home, correct?
Yes, and actually, this particular bottle has a funny, because this is a 2015 bottle, so it has a little bit of a funny history. This was given to me by my brother-in-law as a gift, and quite a nice gift it is. And then I lost the bottle for a year.
How do you lose a bottle of whiskey?
Well, that's a good question. I totally lost it. And my wife, I was like, I swear, did you drink the rest of the Booker's? And she's like, no. I said, I swear, I had a whole bottle of Booker's somewhere. And I looked and I looked and I never could find it. It's like, how do you lose a bottle of whiskey, right? So at one point in time, I had stuck it in a gym bag. And I remembered this because I was going to Austin to hang out with some friends. And I was like, I'm bringing some good whiskey. Stuck it in the gym bag. Totally forgot about it. Didn't look at that gym bag for a year. I opened it up. And so I've actually used the gym bag, but I didn't open up that one end of it for like a year. And I opened it up one day. I started laughing. I was like, there's my bottle of Booker's. So it's been aging as well in a gym bag.
In a gym bag. Well, can I just offer you this one suggestion?
What's that?
That story would be so much better if it included the phrase, So I'm at the gym. Right?
Well, so this gym bag's going with me a bunch of places because it's actually the one I put my bicycle stuff in when I go ride my bicycle.
Right.
I just hadn't opened that end of it because that end of it usually holds like my night riding lights and stuff like that, which I just hadn't done in a while. So it was funny that it just showed up one day like that. I was like, there's that bottle.
Can you imagine, though, you're waiting in line for the flying peck machine or whatever that thing is where you do and
here's my bottle of whiskey.
Here's my bottle of Booker's.
Got my towel and my bottle of Booker's. So anyway, this is fantastic. You probably don't need me to tell you. This is fantastic.
It's
whiskey.
really.
It is also 63, almost 64%. So it's pretty big. But what's funny about that, as big as that is, it still doesn't burn you up.
No, I mean it's definitely gotten more burn than the Skrew Ball peanut butter whiskey.
Definitely.
But it's not like over the top.
And it's got the cinnamon and
some
vanilla
maltiness that's wonderful.
And the malts and some chocolatiness on the finish, like in the retrohale. After everything, this is a delightful and wonderful thing, and I'm glad I could finish this bottle with you guys.
Well, this has been a really fun show because it's been kind of a looser show, and I really like that. We've just been talking beer and talking the world's strangest animal and talking about one of the more, I think, creative breweries, at least Ian in our area. I really feel like Platypus has got a really, really interesting and great thing going on because it is just I'm trying to find the right way to describe this. When you go in and you look at their lineup of beers, yes, they have the bases covered, but no, it's not just your sort of typical guy walks into a brew pub. Does that make sense? You understand what I'm saying here? The fact that you've got the Mexican beer, for example, is a perfect example of that, and that such care was taken with how you crafted that, so that it's interesting. It's not just it fills that spot on our roster. You know what I mean?
Yep. Absolutely.
So I enjoy you guys, and you do have, as Ian and I discovered, a great patio to sit out on and smoke cigars. It's a lot of fun, and the food is terrific. And I just want to thank you guys for coming in today and bringing such great beers.
Thanks, Chris. I really
how
pleasure
often,
being here.
Yeah, how often will you change your lineup or release something new, say, in the coming year?
So we have a core lineup that we'll maintain throughout the year. We try to do an average 1.5 releases a month. So 1 to 2 releases a month.
Okay. Yeah. And how long do most of those stay around?
Not very long.
Not very long. And is that because you produce just limited quantity and they go?
Well, we like to share it with the city, so we give it to a lot of our clients that are, buying all of our stuff.
It goes pretty quick, but I mean, if you look at the Granddaddy Perp, we were given an experimental hop that only less than 5 breweries in the entire US were able to get this hop.
So how do you do something like that?
Yeah, it's called Kerry Embertson, our head brewer. She's got
really?
wonderful
So she's got the reputation to be able to
absolutely.
pull that kind of thing off.
And
That's
we did the 10 barrel, just flew straight out the door, and thankfully we were able to get our hands on some more, and we're doing another 20 barrels. So
it was
for ones that go, we can redo them.
I was going to say, what does one of these limited releases have to do to make you go, you know what, we need to make this available again or more often or all the time?
Just feedback, how fast we sell it.
If he can sell it in 1 or 2 days, he says, you have any more? I said, no. Then that tells us
tells you to go back to the drawing board and make some more.
Get some more.
Well, as a fan, because I've always wondered that, as a fan, you go someplace, you try something on tap, it's a limited release, you're like, oh my God, I love this. Right. How do you then get the brewery to talked into how do you at least let them know that you want them to keep making this?
We always have higher volume at the brewery, of course, it makes sense. So
and you can squirrel away crowlers and keep them for a couple months.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're looking for our new releases, and it's come to the brewery, that's the best place you'll be sure to get it.
And obviously we can come there and pick up whatever we need in terms of crowlers, and you guys have got them on site. We don't have to bring empty ones and all that stuff. Right?
You can, but we do sell them there.
We do crowlers, growlers. You can take beer to go, take it home. That's the wonderful dynamic we have.
If I come get some of this Hazy IPA, how long is that good in my house?
In your house, look, it is a super dry hopped beer. I say they're usually best drank almost immediately.
Because
This is so fresh, too.
This style,
Like, this
that's
tastes
why it's so
amazingly
good.
fresh.
Is it's so fresh? But this style of beer doesn't age well.
No,
So
I'd say drink it within a week, 2 weeks.
okay, that's what I thought.
If you've got a growler,
Challenge accepted.
yeah, exactly. if you've got a growler, you want it within a week. If you put it in a can of crowler, you can probably store it. A can for a high hopped beer is typically 2 months. If you do a standard lager or a standard ale, you could probably get 3 to 4 months shelf life. Pushing that, you start to get oxidization. You don't want that.
Right, right. All right. Well, guys, we want to thank you very, very much for being on the show with us today. It was a real honor. Want to let people know that coming up next week, Trey Boring will be joining us. Trey is with Cigar Rights of America. He is a cigar fanatic and a very funny and awesome guy. He is going to bring us up to speed on the very latest on the cigar legislation, what it means to you if you were a fan of and smoker of cigars, and it'll just be
I can't
fun
wait to
hang
meet
with
him because I was out last time.
You were out the last time he was here. He is awesome, and the joke is his name is boring, but he's anything but. I mean,
Right.
he's a very interesting dude, and we're looking forward to having him on. So that is going to be on next week's show. Plus, I will be telling you about. Well, actually, I'll be asking you a question, Ian. Are you ready for artificial whiskey? Because artificial whiskey is coming.
Soylent whiskey?
So, well, it's whiskey.
Soylent bourbon is still bourbon.
It's whiskey created in the lab by chemists as opposed to created by distillers.
Oh. Do these chemists take malt and ferment them?
Nope.
And
Nope. They manipulate molecules.
I don't. That's weird to me.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. And there's a whole movement afoot.
Now you're going to have two sections of whiskey. You're going to have organic whiskey,
Yes.
and non-organic whiskey.
It's already bad enough, because you've got the single malt, you've got the blended, you've got the bourbons, it's gonna get more and more complicated. Trust me. Do you think there'll ever be a retailer that just does like whiskey, like where you go and they don't sell rum or
I don't know.
Anything else, where it's just all about whiskey? I don't know. Be an interesting thing to say.
Probably find it in Scotland. Yeah.
I bet you could.
Ireland.
Although I'd be real surprised if you couldn't get a pint of beer there on some level.
But that's just to drink while you're selecting your whiskey.
That's exactly
your
right.
aperitif.
That's right. Well, again, guys, Sean and Brandon from Platypus Brewing, thank you guys so much for being on the show.
Thanks
for bringing the beer. It was wonderful, and I glad we got to drink a little whiskey with you. The peanut butter as well as the Bookers. I enjoyed them both on completely different levels. I appreciate it. We want to thank you for being on the show. We did run out of time for sampling the Mumford & Sons IPA. We'll have to get to that next week. But we'll see you then. And in the meantime, gentlemen, and to all of our friends listening and watching across the world, cheers.
L'chaim.
Interesting note. I don't think I like what the whiskey does to the IPA.
Yeah.
But I like what the IPA does to the whiskey.